What's up, everybody? This is Littlest here.
What's up, everybody? It's I, Ken Snake.
Greetings, everyone. This is CC Trainor-Ling.
What's up, everybody? It's James the Con Man, and don't you want me? Don't you want me, baby?
And so, guys, without further ado, let's jump right into the plot. So the plot here, it's Blythe wakes up feeling sick, but quickly realizes she can no longer hear the pet speaking to her, and can't figure out why. Meanwhile, Vinny is accidentally hauled off to the city dump, and needs to find his way back to the pet shop with the help of a garbage rat named Pete.
Alright, my first positive would have to be a Humanarian. For one thing...
Yes.
But other than the fact that it's about Russell, it's also because of the fact that I grew up with that kind of music, with the 80s pop music. More often than not, it was that or the 80s rock music that I grew up with. I like the tone of it, I love the vocals in it, everything about it was just really good. The animation was fantastic as well.
I would absolutely love to. You might want to strap in, folks. You might even be in here for a little bit. This song is probably within my top 3 of LPS songs, if not number 1. Simply because, you know, well, it really added nothing to it. Really had nothing but a plot. It was just an Aryan, but still, just the how accurate, like almost spot on, they got the actual sound of the song, and then the animation is just cherry on the sundae. I mean, I don't really rag on the animation for the musical sequences unless it's something I really have to point out. And they got all the 80s tropes there, you know, like right near the first verse, whenever there's like Pepper and Zoe's heads like floating around Blythe, like there's that little motion trail behind them. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
That little echo singing trail. Yeah, that was a big thing back in the day. The grids, the neon colors, the synthesizers. It's just, if anyone out there who's listening to us actually growing up in the 80s, and you can probably tell the huge nostalgia trip. So, you know, everyone involved, Daniel, awesome job. All the singers, awesome job. Animators, pat yourselves on the back. One of the best reasons I love this episode.
What really stood out for me in this Humanarian song would have to be the appearances of the pets. Like, it just breathed more 80s than ever before. Combined with the song, combined with the lyrics, and combined with the looks, it's a perfect match. Everything about that song is great.
I'd also like to add to this. Humanarian is definitely a great song, but there are some songs that are better than this. Just like other people have pointed out throughout the years, the visuals very much remind me of Gem and the Holograms. Even though I've never watched it, I just see it on commercials on Discovery Family all the time. The floating heads, the 80s jazz vibe, the hippie feel, they all have that Gem and the Holograms feel. It's also really cute how the pets don't know the word for a doctor, so they just call it a human veterinarian or humanarian, just like the song's name.
Well, they are animals, so what do you expect? It's only fair.
Exactly. I mean, I was just about to point out, you know, how the pets actually looked here. I mean, as if they couldn't get even more 80s, you know, Minka looks like, you know, she's a stand-in for someone from Gem and the Holograms, as Snake just said. And honestly, the one thing that I thought of was there was one music video for David Lee Roth sometime in the mid-80s. Russell's makeup in that bit kind of made me think of it.
One of my positives would have to be Pete the Rat. Now, at first, I really thought he was going to fall into sort of like what we would assume that I assumed that he would fall into what a regular undomesticated rodent would be, such as, you know, going back to trading places with those dumpster rats. I thought Pete was going to be like them, but he's actually a really nice guy. So I like how they actually broke the trend of having the rude and selfish rats in this series. Yeah, Pete was definitely worth a few laughs, especially when he was covered in the bird seed, and, you know, the birds were pecking his beautiful rat face, and, you know, he wanted to kick them with his little rat legs. That was funny. Wish he would make a couple more appearances. He really does deserve it. I think he and Vinny would have been really great friends if he became more recurring. Since obviously he's living out behind the pet shop, as we saw later in Back Window.
Yeah, I think he and Vinny actually had some really good chemistry, honestly.
Absolutely. Even willing to go so far as to save someone he hardly knows from the evil clutches of Alice, who I think is also another great positive in this episode. There's just something about her that just screams Elmira from Tiny Toons.
I was just to make that joke, actually.
Oh, wow. Alice was definitely cute, and she's also voiced by Ashley Ball.
Yeah, somehow you could just tell with that really tiny kid voice, like, yep, That's Ashley.
Another positive that I have is the medicine that Roger uses to cure Blythe of her sickness. It has multiple uses, and for one, it does eventually cure her of her sickness after she was feeling really ill from the cold. The second use is that after taking the medicine, she had a temporary loss of not being able to understand the pets for some time. This brings up many questions and theories. If a person who wasn't initially able to understand the pets takes this medicine, would they be able to understand the pets for a brief time, or does it only work in the one way that it's shown? Are there other possibilities that could be able to make you understand pets or lack thereof, which means like take the ability away? And how did Blythe really get her ability to understand pets? We might never know the answer to these questions until the show ends, and I love the lore it brings.
To answer your one question, the dumbwaiter. She was dropped on her head from a dumbwaiter accident. How many times do we have to confirm this with you?
So she has a coma.
Wouldn't say coma, but okay, let's just go with that. Let's just go with that. You know, coma's the answer. I mean, you may find the medicine as a positive, but personally, I would say that that is a negative. That would be a good time to transition into the negatives. I understand that there is a joke to be made in this medicine, such as, you know, hey, you take this medicine. Turns out you can't understand the pet speaking to you in the language of humans. I don't know exactly what kind of guy was making this herbal medicine, but probably he was talking to pets long before he made this medicine, just like Blythe could. Or was he? It's sort of like what Snake said. It's just not determined, and it's raises like a lot of questions, and that's why I'm getting kind of confused about it. And I don't know if it feels like a cop out, but I personally think it is. You know, like I said, it felt too confusing. If it had just been Blythe's sickness and not the medicine that caused her to not understand the pets, I think that would have made a lot more sense. It just seems a lot more plausible. Brings a bit more truth to it.
Probably.
Yeah.
The next negative that I have is Blythe's stubbornness. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to want to work as usual while you're sick. In fact, it's really great that she wants to work even if she doesn't feel good at all. My problem has to do with the effect that it has on the others. She's traveling down the dumbwaiter and interacts with the pets as well as Twombly in her condition. If they were not careful, the Blythe could have gotten everyone else sick in the room if she was able to spread it through the air or something. She should have just stayed in bed all day trying to get rid of her sickness instead of forcing herself up and straining herself to be awake and make her feel worse.
I think the only thing that you can say about that is that she just wanted to tell Mrs. Twombly that she wasn't coming into work today, and she just probably didn't think that Roger was going to call, or, you know, she was going to really call herself, so she thought, I'll just use the dumbwaiter. It's a much faster way to get to the shop and, you know, say, Mrs. Twombly, I'm sick. I can't come to work today. Go right back up.
Seems kind of waste, though, don't you think?
Well, I guess it could be a little wasteful, but then again, we should all be aware that Blythe is not the average teenager. She loves to do things for herself, and they may seem a little out there, but, you know, that's just her. I guess the only thing I can say is that Twombly did take the special precautions to not get sick. I mean, she did pull out the mask, so...
And her gloves.
Yeah, so no chance of her getting infected. The pets,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Alright, well, overall, this was a fantastic episode, too. This was a fantastic episode. To keep it short and sweet, great song, pretty good plots. Great that we got to see more characters, and we got to see more locations. So I'm gonna give this episode a 8 out of 10.
This episode is really relatively simple. It doesn't feature much, but I can't say many things about it, but it's not too bad either. One thing I noticed about this episode while watching it is that it's the episode which features Clay's signature hawk that he uses for his pictures. And I didn't really notice it before. It also features the idea that Blythe is actually able to lose her ability to communicate with animals, which also brings up theories. Zoe was great in this episode, even though she barely does anything. She only has a few lines. The subplot of this episode with Vinny reminds me of a Pound Puppies episode called King of the Heap, where Niblet goes to the dumpster and he's trying to become like the king of the trash dump. All in all, it's not too bad of an episode, but it's not too good either. So I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Now, even though we're in the first season, not every episode can get a high score. And this just happens to be one of them. In short, this episode could be described as being on the upper low end of average, but definitely not below average. While I can say this episode can be relatively forgettable, I still have some positives that are worth mentioning, most of which take place in the B-plot. Even though he's not listed as a positive on my list, Vinny was perhaps the best pet in this episode. I'm sure someone out there watching the episode would have thought that Vinny was too stupid to just ignore one fly when there's a bag of them he could have eaten inside the pet shop. But let me remind the viewers who think that, is that Vinny is the kind of gecko who would be really focused on catching one fly for breakfast, then eating a lot of dead ones for lunch. Apparently he must enjoy eating real, living flies more than dried out dead ones, as future episodes clearly point out, such as Why Can't We Be Friends in Season 3. I feel the scene with Vinny as Princess Precious is the highlight of the episode's B-plot, if not the entire episode. However, the A-plot includes its own highlight as well, which would be Humanarian, a song I feel is very upbeat and quite danceable. Seeing the pets look like they're filming an 80s music video is something I wouldn't have expected, but I sure love the way they looked, and the way the music is composed is too hot to keep cold. Ditto for all of the visual effects, like you would have seen in Gem and the Holograms. Daniel Ingram is no stranger to any music genre. Speaking of strangers, we're introduced to Pete during the B-plot. Initially, I thought I was going to be turned off by him, since given how most of the other undomesticated rodents in this series as of this episode have been depicted as selfish and rude, like if you were to look at the rats in the episode Trading Places. Somewhere in my mind, I thought Pete, a garbage rat, was going to act in a very similar manner, but he actually broke that trend, and it was very well appreciated. He seemed like a very good character. He didn't fall into the archetypal personality of the other rodents the series has shown us. He may have looked like a bad guy, but he really wasn't. From what I could gather from him, he looked very helpful in trying to safely return Vinny to the pet shop and even pull him from the clutches of Alice. If I may now talk about Alice, I'm not sure if a lot of people hate her or not. I mean, when I first saw the episode, I thought she came off as rather annoying, sort of like Elmira from Tiny Toons. But after watching the episode again, I have grown to understand her as a little kid. In hindsight, I can't say she was entirely annoying, because that's usually how most little kids act when they see cute little animals. Of course they're going to act overly excited and whatnot. So as far as writing realistic child characters goes, Alice is a good example. However, this episode, I feel, sort of copped out near the end for humor purposes. Remember that medicine Blythe had to take? It turns out one of the side effects is that it impairs a human's ability to understand pets. Yes, I do acknowledge that along with being unable to juggle or ride a unicycle, this side effect was played off as a joke while also revealing it to be the reason why Blythe could only hear the pets speaking in their animal languages as opposed to speaking human talk. But in my opinion, I'm not sure how well that stands up for this story. Like Ekin said, it poses a lot of theories, and it just kinda got confusing. As far as this medicine would go, it would suggest the humans in the LPS universe can talk to pets, and the pets can answer back in the same language as humans, when obviously that's not the case. Maybe the guy who made this herbal medicine could talk to pets and vice versa, in the same human language Blythe has been using to talk to the pets with? We don't know, that's not determined. If people found the revelation joke funny, then I'll still respect them for it. But for me, it just seemed confusing and, like I said, sort of a cop-out. If it was revealed Blythe's illness is what caused her to not hear the pets speaking the human language, it would have made a lot more sense. Now, suppose she hadn't have taken the medicine and still didn't know what was wrong with her as far as understanding her animal friends went. She could have, like Blythe said in the second act, just go to sleep in the hopes of getting better and do the whole fluids and rest treatment. If it was revealed that her illness and not the medicine was the cause of the problem, I would have been perfectly okay with it, because it just seems to bring a bit more truth to the matter. Perhaps I'm overthinking the concept of this medicine in this cartoon, but it's just something which I felt needed attention. Like I said, this episode is in the upper low end of average, but most certainly not below average. The B-plot with Vinny and Pete and Humanarian are enough to keep me entertained throughout the episode, but it's an episode I'll only watch once in a great while. That is, if I can even remember to watch it on my episode checklist. I give this episode a 7.4 out of 10. Not too bad, but not too great. So, there you go.
Let's see. I already raved about the song to the point where I became an incoherent mess. So, just going to leave that alone and just say, Daniel, if you're watching this, give yourself a gigantic pat on the back. You nailed it. As for the rest of the episode, it was a decent watch. I mean, honestly, for me, like I said, the song is kind of the highlight. And the B plot I felt to be a little bit more interesting than the A plot. But, all in all, I have to give this, this is one of those instances where it's the tiny things that matter. Because originally I was going to give this a 6. But thanks to the B plot and the song, I can't forgive myself if I give it anything lower than an 8.
So next week we're going to be doing season 2, so let's see what episode it brings us.
Bring on the
Keyboard 80
randomizer,
for
Snake!
this,
Bring a
big
good
bucks, big bucks,
episode.
big bucks, no whammies, stop!
And the episode is commercial success.
Oh my god, yes! You have no
Alright,
idea how long I've
okay.
been waiting to do this one.
Oh, really?
my god,
Yes,
I'm
I
so
can't wait for
excited.
it.
High 5.
Finally, it's already gonna get a 10. I can feel it happening.
Oh, wow.
Alright, guys, so this is Simulation 98.
I can snake.
CC Trainor-Ling.
James the Con Man coming to a VHS store near you.
And this is the League of Petshoppers signing off. We will see you guys later. Stay tuned for No Cab. Adios.
Peace out, home slices.
And remember, I want my MTV!
See you later.
Hello, everybody. Downloads Bacon here. I'm just keeping it real and keeping it funky fresh. That's 80s, right? No? Yeah, I was going to join the review, but I got distracted by something, and, well, I just wandered off for a bit. But now that I'm back, everyone's gone, of course, as always. No matter. So with that in mind, let's get started. It'll come to a surprise to no one that I love this episode. I probably like it more than the other shoppers here, but I guess that's the role I play, seeing now no one knows what anyone says in this episode, waiting for that joke to kick in. And like everyone previous to me, there is something that I love a lot, and which is the song. I love the song a lot. There's only one show that comes to mind with the song, which would be Gem in the Holograms, 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 Extremely Goofy Movie, Gem in the Holograms, Gem in the Holograms, and David Bowie. Not much I can add to the song. I loved it, everyone loved it, you loved it, I loved it, everyone loved it. So that's basically it. But with the A-plot, I love the pets. They're great as always. And also I love Ninja Twomley. If Ekans could put a picture. I know she's not really a ninja, but she's just wearing the thing. She looks like a ninja, okay? I'm sorry. Looks cool. In the B-plot, I really enjoyed Pete, who I thought was really cool. I know CC touched up on him, but he was probably my favorite thing of this episode. Really cool guy. And of course, this episode was focused around Vinny, who's not my favorite pet at that time. He was almost either my least favorite or my second least, so it's kind of an iffy. But looking back at it again, since Vinny is now my favorite male pet, it's not a bad episode. It still isn't a bad episode back then either. A random thing is that, I don't know about you, but has anyone else noticed that the flies are really adorable? I mean, could you put a picture of an actual fly and a fly from the show? Seriously, that's pretty great. And also, I didn't know flies can purr. Apparently they do that. Then, of course, we've got Alice, who slightly reminds me of Darla, I believe her name is, from Finding Nemo. Maybe it's a hairstyle. I don't know. I don't see any other resemblances that they have. And I can't put Alice as a negative because she acts like a real kid, especially with a mother like that. Lol. And truth be told, I actually think Blythe is a positive also, and somewhat of the medicine too, even though a lot of people have it as a negative. And I will explain why. According to most, not much happens in this episode. Well, that is somewhat true and incorrect. Here's the thing. This is an episode focused more on Vinny, so we're going to see more of Vinny. And this is an interesting episode to show what happens if Blythe can't speak to the pets, in a sense. But Blythe being sick, not much she can do. Honestly, what do you want her to do? You know what, let's do a little fun thing right now. I'm gonna ask the audience a question. I'm gonna have 3 answers, and I'm gonna ask you what Blythe should do. Should Blythe A, go to bed, have soup, vitamin C, and just relax and just hopefully take the medicine and the sickness will go away and she'll be good just by the afternoon time? Or B, should she juggle? Or C, skydive? And the votes are in and everyone chose C. Great. Now that would be an interesting episode, but that's not the point when she's sick. No, could you imagine Blythe just, oh, I'm sick, and then she somehow took Zoe to the plane to skydive, and then it's like, Blythe, why are we on this thing? She jumps off and then doesn't deploy the chute, and Zoe deploys the chute, saving both of them. That's probably going to be an episode in season 5. Lol. I don't know. I would have chosen A. I don't know, take the medicine, which apparently the medicine got a lot of people thinking. I believe the medicine was just really a joke about other medicines. The whole joke that they were trying to do is that, has anyone ever paid attention to medicine advertised, where they advertise that their medicine can get rid of a headache, but then it might cause diarrhea, or this might help your throat and it'll turn you purple? Basically, most medicines have the weirdest symptoms sometimes, and some that are extremely out there. So I think it was just a whole joke about medicine in general. Now everyone's going deep into it and go, oh, but she can lose her powers and this and that and this, and I'm just... Something along those lines, you know? It's fun to think about it, but just don't overdo it, you know? I would go on longer, but due to time constraints, I am forced to end it here. So overall, I'd give this episode a very high score compared to everyone else. I'd probably give this episode a 9.75 out of 10. The reason I give it such a high score is technically nothing's really wrong with it. I understand that a lot of people are against it because Blythe is sick or it's a Vinny episode, but I don't mind Vinny so much. And with Blythe, what do you want her to do when she's sick? I know the pets didn't have much else to really do, but they had to show concern for them both. They had to know where Vinny was and Blythe is sick, so we have to figure something out. Well, I've got to start thinking of a commercial idea for the League of Pet Shoppers for next week. So I guess it's now time to slow down and sign off. So thanks, and thanks again.